done is I've pinned the entire quilt, and then I started in the middle, and that's what I told you to do. You start in the middle and you pin out and get your quilt all very flat with no puckers. Make sure that you haven't accidentally, puckered any of the back area. Okay, then once I had it all pinned and I'm getting ready to sit down to my machine, I cleared a path for my walking foot, because it's kind of hard to do that, and you're going to have to once you get your first 2 lines in, and we're going to stitch in the ditch, and that is simply stitching right in the ditch. The ditch is the little grooved area between your fabric pieces, and we're going to stitch right down that. So let's do that right now. Let's take it to the machine. Everything's pinned, and we'll start. Okay, so here we are at the machine. Now I have put my walking foot on, and your machine, if it comes with one, usually it doesn't come with it. It's a separate purchase, but it's very worth it when you're doing quilting or thick fabrics in general. So I've got my walking foot on. I've adjusted my stitch length to 3. So I have a 3 on my stitch length. You can do 2.5 or 3. 3. Yeah. So a nice quilting stitch. So here we go. I don't want to lose my stick, so I'll put it there. And your foot should, now if you don't have one, don't use an extra thick batting, okay? Don't make a real thick batting. Get the 100% cotton like we talked about, okay? And you want to stay right in the ditch, which is the area between the blocks right here, and you can feel it with your finger, okay? Stay right. We're going to do a straight line. We're going to start in the middle and come straight down, making sure that before you put this under, that you made sure there were no puckers in the back. And we're just going to go straight down. If you come across a pin on the right hand side, of course, stop. Try not to go over the edge of the fabric. Now see, I'm coming up to a pin. Now I'm not going to be able to, of course, stitch over that. Okay, so you're going to have to stop and get the pin out. And this is where this little tool comes in handy. Sorry if my hand is in the way. Oh, mercy. Okay, don't come that close up to the pin. You might not get it out. Okay, and well, the tool helped. There we go. Okay, and you know what? I think I'll take this one out down here just in case. All right, and here we go. Just keep your foot, the inside of that foot lined up with your fabric. Go right between, not on the block. So this, it switched just a little bit, so I went from the inside of this piece here, and then when I came across the seam, it went to the outside. Don't sew over your block. Keep it within the ditch, okay? Come right to the bottom. Now you can needle up and get it turned around, or you can cut it, turn the whole thing around, and you're going to do that, okay? So we'll okay, so now what I've done is I went ahead and I did the one side on, I flipped it and I went in the ditch on the other side. And then I flipped it again. I cleared a path right through the other side, the middle, so you have like a cross right on your quilt. Go and you're going to do that other middle part straight down. Okay, so we're going to do both of those sides. So what we're doing is we're doing this center piece here, then we're going to flip it. You're going to stitch in the ditch all the way down here, and then we will do, you're just going to do all of your seams like that. Okay, so you're going to start, let me see. So the next place we'll start will be maybe up on the top block over here on the pinwheel, and you'll start right where that pinwheel is here. You're going to come all the way across. Okay, and you know, you're just going to have to stop and pivot and remove pins and get the whole thing done. And then we are going to do a little bit of free motion quilting in the white parts of this quilt. And okay, so let's do the stitch in the ditch first, and then we'll come back and we're going to do the stippling. Okay, so now we have done the inside of the quilt. So we did the lines going up and down both ways, okay? And I'm going to come to the first block, and I forgot to mention also that if you don't feel confident using the white thread, if you don't want it to show at all, use the invisible thread. I had planned on using white for this quilt from the beginning, so I didn't think about it when we first started quilting, but remember I mentioned it in the supply list that you can get invisible thread, and you just load your bobbin with that also, and that will give you a nice clear stitch. Now I wanted to point out, when you're coming down, let's move this down a little bit on the block. Try and stay right up against, nice and even, take your time. When you start to come to a seam, slow down a little bit and take a look. Use the seam as a stop sign, or you're going to have to cross over just a tiny little bit to get over to the other side. Most likely, yes, we're going to have to do that a couple times, right? So you want to slow down, maybe pivot just a tiny little bit if you're not straight, if it's not a completely straight seam. And on the 4 blocks, it's not really hard to get the seam straight, but on those pinwheels, it is kind of hard to get them a little bit straight. So we're going to come in, there we go, we went over to the other side, and continue straight down, and then stop right when you get to the edge there. Okay, I would do a little back stitch because you don't want to cross over into that block right there. And then you're going to cut the thread, and we will pivot it, we'll turn it, come the other way, and I'm going to come straight down this one here. And when you start off, maybe do a back stitch. Didn't mention that up on the top one. Mine kind of does a little back stitch when it starts, but never hurts. Come straight down the middle of that 4 block. Okay, slow down. Slow down. We're coming to a seam. Here we go. That looks pretty straight. And again, you're going to have the 4 block is going to be not as hard. And give it a little slow down. Now you could pivot it, come back up and go this, but then you'll have to come back over here and over here. So I do find it easier myself if you're not sure that you're going to hit that block. There you go. And cut that. Still hit my block, didn't it? Well, anyway, so we will. Then you're going to do the other blocks, okay? So do your pinwheels, do everything on the inside. So we just have a couple more, and then we're going to come down these sides over here. Just make sure you get all of your sides in, and then we will get to the stippling. So I just wanted to add a little extra video in there real quick while I was doing this, because I noticed that when I was coming to one of my blocks right here, that one of the ones, yeah, it was up here somewhere, I had to cross over, and I thought, oh, I better remind you guys that you want to just slow down when you're coming to the seams. The seams are a stop sign. Okay.